God is speaking. Everything you're facing will turn into a blessing. There's a heaviness you've been carrying that you don't show anyone, and lately it's been harder to breathe under the weight of it. You've tried to stay strong, you've tried to stay hopeful, but something inside you whispers that you're running out of strength. And right here, in this exact moment, God is reaching toward you with a message that cuts through the noise of fear. Everything will be fine. Not because life is perfect, not because you've figured everything out, but because the one who holds the universe also holds you. You are not forgotten. You are not invisible. You are not standing in this storm by yourself. There is a reason you're listening right now. God has been drawing your heart closer, reminding you that peace is still possible. In James chapter 1, verses 2 through 4, it says that the testing of your faith is producing something in you: endurance, strength, and spiritual maturity. That means what you're facing isn't punishment. It's preparation. And even if the walls feel like they're closing in, God is already building a way out. So breathe for a moment. Settle your heart. God is speaking to you today. And the word He's placing in your spirit is simple but powerful. You will be okay. Everything is under His control, and He has never lost a battle. When life feels overwhelming, God steps in. Sometimes life hits so hard that you start wondering if God is still paying attention. You wake up with pressure, go to sleep with worry, and carry questions no one around you seems to understand. But here's the truth you need to hear. God has not stepped away from your situation. In fact, He is closer right now than you realize. In Psalm 34, verse 18, it says that the Lord is near to the broken-hearted. That means the very moments you feel abandoned are often the moments He is standing the closest. You may not see movement yet, but God has already stepped into the places you cannot reach. He's touching the conversations you can't hear, the hearts you can't influence, and the doors you don't even know exist. When the Israelites stood between the Red Sea and Pharaoh's army, they couldn't see anything but danger. But God was already preparing the water to split. In Exodus chapter 14, verse 14, it says that the Lord Himself will fight for you. You need only to be still. That's not weakness, that's trust. So don't mistake silence for absence. God is working behind the scenes, adjusting things, shifting things, and positioning you for what comes next. Your overwhelming season is not the end of you. It's the stage where God shows you His power, and when He steps in, everything changes. The battle you're facing is not a sign of defeat. It's a sign of transition. There's a pressure in your life right now that feels heavier than anything you've carried before, and maybe you've started wondering if it means something is wrong with you, if you're failing, if you're slipping, if you're somehow disappointing God. But this battle isn't evidence of defeat. It's evidence that you're moving into a new season. The enemy doesn't fight what isn't shifting. Pressure shows up when God is preparing to lift you to a higher place. In 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 10, it says that after you have suffered a little while, the God of all grace will restore you, strengthen you, and establish you. That means the struggle isn't permanent. It's purposeful. Transitions often feel like everything is being shaken, not because your life is falling apart, but because God is removing what cannot go with you into your next chapter. Think about a seed underground. It looks like darkness, it feels like isolation, and it seems like nothing is happening. But in reality, everything is happening. Growth is taking place in hidden spaces. In the same way, the pressure around you is a sign that something is breaking open, something is changing, something is expanding. God is stretching you because He's preparing to bless you. So don't misread your season. This is not the storm that destroys you. It's the storm that delivers you. God is moving you from who you were into who you're becoming. And the battle you're facing is simply the doorway to your breakthrough. God is rearranging things in your life for a greater purpose. There are moments in life when everything seems to shift at the same time. Relationships change, plans fall apart, doors close, and the familiar suddenly becomes uncomfortable. It's easy to panic when this happens. It's easy to think you've lost control or somehow messed up God's plan. But often, those sudden changes are not signs of chaos. They are signs of divine rearrangement. God is moving pieces, adjusting paths, and clearing space for what He's about to bring into your life. In Romans chapter 8, verse 28, it says that all things work together for the good of those who love God. Not some things, not the convenient things, all things, even the unexpected moments, even the heartbreaks. Even the doors you prayed would stay open, but God chose to close. Every shift you're experiencing is part of a larger picture that you can't fully see yet. Sometimes God has to move people out of your life because their presence would limit your future. Sometimes He closes an opportunity because it would drain you, distract you, or delay you. Sometimes He lets discomfort rise because He knows you wouldn't leave a place that is too familiar, even if it's no longer good for your spirit. God's rearrangement is not rejection. It is protection. Think of Joseph in the Old Testament. Every time something was taken from him, something greater was being prepared for him. The pit led to the palace. The betrayal led to promotion. What looked like loss was actually divine positioning. The same God who orchestrated Joseph's steps is orchestrating yours. So don't fight every closed door. Don't mourn every change. Don't cling to what God is gently removing from your hands. He sees what you cannot see. He knows what you do not know. And He is preparing something that requires room, focus, and a new environment. Your life is not falling apart. It's falling into alignment. God is rearranging things for a purpose bigger than your pain, stronger than your fear, and more beautiful than anything you imagined. When He is finished, you will look back and say, "That had to happen. It was part of the plan." Your prayers have not been ignored. There are seasons when you pray with everything in you, yet the situation seems unmoved. You cry out, but the problem remains. You ask for clarity, yet the confusion doesn't lift. And somewhere deep inside, a quiet question begins to form. God, do you hear me? Let me speak directly to your heart. Yes, He does. Your prayers have never been ignored. Heaven has been working from the very moment you opened your mouth. In Daniel chapter 10, verse 12, the angel tells Daniel that from the first day he set his heart to seek God, his words were heard. The delay wasn't because God didn't listen. It was because spiritual resistance was happening in the unseen realm. In the same way, your delay is not denial. It's simply the process between the prayer and the breakthrough. God heard you the first time. He heard every word, every whisper, every tear. You must remember that God works according to perfect timing, not emotional urgency. While you're focused on the moment, God is focused on the outcome. He is aligning people, preparing opportunities, and arranging circumstances so the answer will bless you, not burden you. Sometimes He withholds what you're asking for because He's preparing something far better. Sometimes He delays the blessing because the ground of your heart isn't ready to hold it yet. Think of a child asking for the keys to a car. They may desire it, but desire doesn't equal readiness. God cares too much about your destiny to give you something at the wrong time. His timing is not a punishment, it's protection. Even when you feel nothing is shifting, heaven is in motion. Angels are being assigned. Paths are being cleared. Opportunities are being shaped. The answer may be on its way, but it must arrive in a moment that glorifies God and strengthens you. So, don't give up on your prayer. Don't silence your voice. Don't assume the quiet means God is distant. In Psalm 56 verse 8, it says that God collects your tears in His bottle, meaning not one moment of your pain goes unnoticed. Your prayers rise before him, and he is working in ways you cannot yet see. Hold on, trust his timing. Your answer is closer than you think. When God reveals what he's been preparing, you'll realize it was worth every second of waiting. God is healing what you don't talk about. There are wounds inside you that no one knows about, places in your heart where you've quietly bled, places you've learned to hide because you're tired of explaining your pain. You smile on the outside, but the ache beneath the surface tells a different story. Yet, even in those hidden places, God is gently moving. He is healing what you don't mention, touching what you don't reveal, restoring what you've tried to forget. Nothing in you is too deep, too broken, or too tangled for his hands. In Psalm 147, verse 3, it says that God heals the broken-hearted and binds up their wounds. Notice, it doesn't say he only heals the wounds you confess, or the pain you can articulate. It says he heals the broken-hearted, meaning all of you, even the parts you've buried under years of silence. God sees the fears you don't say aloud. He sees the disappointments you pretend didn't matter. He sees the moments that shattered your confidence, the betrayal you still flinch at, the failure that made you doubt yourself. And he is not judging you. He is healing you. Healing isn't always loud. Sometimes it's slow, quiet, and invisible at first. You start noticing that things that once triggered you don't sting as much. A memory you avoided begins to loosen its grip. The anxiety that followed you everywhere starts losing its voice. God heals, layer by layer, moment by moment, breath by breath. Think about the woman in the Gospels who touched the hem of Jesus' garment. She didn't announce her pain. She didn't explain her story. She just reached for healing in silence, and Jesus still knew exactly what she needed. Your story may be silent, but your suffering is not unseen. God feels the weight of what you carry. Sometimes he allows you to walk through seasons of stillness so he can pull roots, not just trim leaves. He wants to heal the cause, not just the symptoms. That's why he's been slowing you down. That's why certain situations stopped working. That's why he's been nudging your heart toward him. Not to punish you, but to restore you. So let yourself breathe. You don't have to be strong every moment of the day. You don't have to hide the parts that hurt. God is already working in those places. He's binding wounds, lifting burdens, and rebuilding the pieces of your heart that life tried to scatter. And soon, you'll realize you're not just surviving, you're healing. You are not alone. God has surrounded you with support you can't see. There are days when loneliness feels heavier than any burden you carry, days when you look around and it seems like no one truly understands what's happening in your heart. You try to explain, but the words fall short. You try to stay strong, but the silence around you makes the struggle feel deeper. Yet the truth is this: you have never walked a single step alone. Even when life feels empty, God has placed a shield around you that cannot be seen with human eyes. In Psalm 91, verse 11, it says that God commands his angels concerning you to guard you in all your ways. That means protection has been walking with you, standing beside you, and fighting for you long before you realized danger was even near. There were moments you didn't know what to do next, but heaven already surrounded you. There were nights you cried yourself to sleep, but the Holy Spirit was right there, comforting you when no one else could. You may think the silence in your life is abandonment, but many times it is spiritual activity happening behind the scenes. Angels have stepped between you and battles you never saw. God has blocked attacks you didn't even know were forming. The enemy planned things that never reached you, not because you were strong, but because you were protected. Think about the story in 2 Kings chapter 6, verses 15 through 17. Elisha's servant panicked when he saw the enemy army surrounding them, but Elisha prayed for God to open his eyes. And suddenly the servant saw a host of heavenly warriors, chariots of fire covering the mountains around them. The enemy was real, but God's protection was greater. The same is true for you right now. What surrounds you spiritually is stronger than what threatens you physically. Sometimes God removes certain people from your life because He wants you to learn that He alone is your anchor. Other times, He brings people into your path unexpectedly, people who speak life, encourage your spirit, or show you kindness at the exact moment you needed it. These aren't coincidences. They are God's reminders that He has placed you under divine care. So lift your head. You are not walking through this valley alone. God is with you. His presence goes before you. His angels stand guard around you. And His hand is on your life in ways you haven't even begun to understand. God is about to turn your pain into purpose. There are seasons when the pain you carry feels pointless, when you ask yourself why certain things had to happen, why certain people had to leave, why certain wounds cut so deeply. You wonder if all the suffering was necessary, or if it simply broke you for no reason. But hear this clearly. God does not waste pain. Every tear, every setback, every disappointment, every valley, He is shaping it into something meaningful. What tried to destroy you is about to become the very thing God uses to elevate you. In Genesis chapter 50, verse 20, Joseph tells his brothers, "You meant evil against me, but God meant it for good." Joseph wasn't minimizing his pain. He wasn't pretending the betrayal didn't hurt. He was declaring a truth every believer must remember. God transforms what was meant to harm you into something that builds you. The pit became a doorway to the palace. The sorrow became preparation for leadership. The suffering sharpened his character. Your story may not be identical, but the principle is the same. God is forming purpose out of your painful places. You may not see it yet, but the parts of your life that felt the most confusing are the parts God is planning to redeem. The heartbreak that humbled you, the loss that softened you, the failure that redirected you. These are now seeds God is using to birth wisdom, compassion, strength, and authority in your life. Nothing you've walked through is wasted. God is stitching meaning into the very areas where you once bled. Pain has a way of making you more sensitive to God's voice. It strips away pride, reveals your true priorities, and forces you to lean on Him in a deeper way. That's why some of your greatest spiritual growth happened during your hardest battles. And now, God is taking that growth and turning it into impact. Impact on your future, your calling, your relationships, and even the people you will one day help. Think of it like a mosaic. Up close, it looks like broken fragments scattered without order. But when you step back, you begin to see the artwork. God is doing the same with your story. He is arranging the broken pieces into something beautiful, something powerful, something purposeful. You are not defined by what hurt you. You are being refined by it. And soon you will look back and say, "This is why it happened. This is what God was building in me." Your pain is not your ending. It's the birthplace of your purpose, and God is about to reveal what He's been shaping all along. A blessing is coming that will change the way you see everything. There is a blessing on its way to you, one that doesn't just fix a problem, but shifts your entire perspective. A blessing that makes you say, "Now I understand why the wait was necessary, why the battle was long, why the door had to close, why God didn't let certain things work out. What God is preparing for you isn't ordinary. It's not a small improvement. It's a breakthrough that transforms how you see your life, your future, and God's hand upon you. In Ephesians chapter 3, verse 20, it says that God is able to do exceedingly, abundantly, above all that you ask or imagine. That means the blessing coming your way won't just meet your expectations, it will rise higher than them. Some of the things you've been hoping for won't just be answered, They'll be answered in a way that leaves you overwhelmed by God's goodness. When God moves, He moves in a way that makes it undeniably Him. You may feel like you've been in a long season of struggle, stagnation, delays, closed doors, uncertainty, but these aren't signs of God's silence. They are signs that God has been building something bigger than you were praying for. Sometimes He stretches the waiting season because He's preparing something that requires more maturity, more faith, or more stability than what you had before. He isn't withholding the blessing to frustrate you. He's shaping you to carry it well. Think about Hannah in the book of 1 Samuel. Her prayer for a child wasn't answered immediately, not because God ignored her, but because He was preparing a prophet who would change the course of Israel's future. Her blessing wasn't an ordinary child, it was Samuel, the one God would speak through. When the answer finally came, it made sense why the delay had to happen. Your blessing carries that same anointing. It's bigger than you think. It's connected to something greater than your present moment. Some blessings don't arrive until after a battle, because that's when your heart is ready to recognize their value. God is about to bring clarity where there was confusion, joy where there was heaviness, and restoration where there was loss. He's preparing a blessing so tailored, so precise, so timely that you'll know it came directly from His hand. Get ready for the shift. Get ready for the moment when everything begins to align. Get ready for the blessing that rewrites the story you thought was finished. God is not done with you. He's about to surprise you with something beautifully beyond what you imagined. God wants you to rest because your future is safe in His hands. There comes a point where your heart gets tired, not just from the battles you're fighting, but from the constant pressure to figure everything out. You lie awake, replaying conversations, analyzing decisions, worrying about outcomes you cannot control. You try to plan every step, fix every problem, and carry responsibilities that were never meant to sit on your shoulders. But right now, God is calling you into rest. Not the rest of giving up, but the rest of trusting Him completely. In Psalm 46, verse 10, it says, "Be still and know that I am God." That isn't just a comforting verse. It's a command to release the anxiety you've been holding. Being still means letting God be God. It means understanding that the one who formed you is fully capable of guiding your future. You don't have to keep fighting battles He has already promised to handle. You don't have to keep exhausting yourself, trying to control what belongs in His hands. Rest doesn't mean inactivity. It means confidence. It means waking up each day with the assurance that God is already ahead of you, opening doors, closing wrong ones, protecting you from unseen danger, and orchestrating divine connections you haven't even imagined yet. Your future isn't fragile. It's held by the one who never fails. Think of Jesus in the storm with His disciples in the Gospels. While the wind raged and the waves crashed, Jesus slept, not because He didn't care, but because He was in complete authority over the situation. Your storm may be loud, but God is not worried. And if He's not worried, you don't need to be either. The same voice that calmed the sea is speaking peace over your life. God wants you to breathe again, to loosen your grip, to stop expecting disaster and start expecting Him. He wants you to walk in the kind of trust that frees your mind and strengthens your spirit. When you rest in Him, you stop reacting to fear and start responding to faith. Your future is not slipping away. It is secure. It is protected. It is guided by a God who has never made a mistake. You can rest not because everything makes sense, but because God is already in your tomorrow, preparing a path full of purpose, blessing, and peace. Conclusion. Take a moment and breathe, not the quick breath of someone bracing for impact, but the steady breath of someone realizing they are held by God. Everything you've walked through, everything you're facing, everything that still feels uncertain, none of it is beyond his reach. You may feel tired, stretched, or overwhelmed, but God is not. And because he is with you, everything will be fine. Not eventually, but starting now, as your heart begins to trust him again. Remember what it says in Isaiah chapter 41 verse 10. God tells you not to fear because he is with you. He promises to strengthen you, help you, and uphold you with his righteous right hand. That means you're not walking into the future alone, and you're not stepping into it unprotected. God has gone before you. He is walking beside you, and he is guarding you from behind. So, lift your head, steady your heart. Let the peace of God settle over you. Your battles are not the end of your story. Your waiting is not wasted. Your pain is not purposeless. God is writing a chapter filled with healing, restoration, and breakthrough. And soon, you will look back and say, God was working the whole time. Everything will be fine, not because life is easy, but because God is faithful. And he is faithfully leading you into a season of clarity, strength, and blessing.